So tips and tools for presentation day. It really boils down to what do you do when you get a gig. And one of the most important things that I want to help you prepare is your introduction. And your introduction is by far the most important minute of your presentation. You can get more done, you can create more credibility, you can do more sales in this 1 minute than you do for the entire talk. The introduction sets you up. The introduction creates credibility. It sets the tone. It positions you as an expert. But in contrast, a bad introduction can do all the opposites. So, at our one-day boot camp, I actually play examples of some of the best and worst introductions I've ever had. And if you hear the bad ones, boy, you'll think that I made them up. But you just would be surprised at what goes on out there. So, I want to share with you some really important things that you need to key in on as you put together these introductions. So, on the creation side, a few things I want you to keep in mind. Number one is it's okay to promote yourself here. This is the one time of your talk where I'm really going to encourage you to toot your own horn. As Donald Trump says, if you don't toot your own horn, nobody else will. And there's truth in that. So, this is an opportunity because someone else is going to be reading your introduction. It's coming from a third party. And, although you're writing it, you're giving them the opportunity to say things about yourself that you wouldn't normally do if you were reading it. So don't be afraid to toot your own horn. In fact, you need to. You're the expert in the room. You need to give that audience confidence that you are the best person for the job, that you're the one who should be standing there talking about whatever it is the topic that you represent. The second thing is keep it brief. They're designed to be introductions, not biographies. So it should be brief and entertaining. One of the analogies I like to make is a movie trailer. That in 30 seconds, not only can a movie trailer tell you what the movie's about, well, most of the time, it can make you want to hear more or see more. It can make you tell someone about it, make you remember it, but it also entertains you all at the same time. So think of this as like the movie trailer for your talk. So it's introduction, not a biography. They don't need to know where you're born, and unless it's applicable. But generally speaking, 3 short paragraphs are plenty, and you want to write it in a way that's informative and entertaining. Every word has a purpose in your introduction, so keep it brief, but really work on the wording in these things. And then the other tip I want to give you is create more than one. And I don't mean for alternate personalities or to make one group think one thing and another, but because the wording is so important, you might find in certain audiences they're going to relate to different verbiage than another audience. So when I'm introduced to the general public, I don't talk as much about my experience in building small business as much as I just talk in generalities of maybe the success or experience that I've had in a given area. If I'm speaking to students, same thing. So you kind of want to relate your introduction to the audience. So I think right now I have anywhere between 5 and 7 of them, but I use predominantly 2 or 3, depending on if I'm talking to an audience on microphone marketing or if I'm talking to them on more small business management or motivation topics. So just have more than one. It's kind of a nice way to really adapt to the audience. On the flip side, once you've created the introduction, making the introduction, so actually what happens on the day of the event, you'll find sometimes they'll ask you for it and sometimes they won't. So here's the rule. You write it, you bring it. Okay? Reach out to the person who's bringing you in, email them a hard copy of it. I like to write it and put it in pretty good size font. If you can do it in 14-point font, double spaced, make it very easy to read, so that it's whoever grabs it, whether they've got their glasses or not, it's hopefully easy for anybody to jump up and do the introduction for you. And then bring it. You can email it, you can send it by mail. You can, put it on your website. You can, send a pigeon. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Oftentimes they're just going to forget. It's just not a priority for them. And for you, this is the most important minute of your talk. So I want you to adopt the mantra that you write it, you bring it when it comes to your introduction. What I do is I actually keep, if you're speaking a lot, I keep extra introductions inside my planner, my daily planner, because sometimes I'll forget them. So I want to just make sure I always have one, because I can't tell you what a difference it makes when I'm not introduced with the bio that I've designed. It makes all the difference in the world. So much so that you'll notice at the back of the room, a lot of the people reference the information that I put into my introduction. So take advantage of that. Another thing is meet with the MC or whoever's doing the introduction. Talk with them before the event and get a feeling for if they're comfortable with it. Do they have questions on how to pronounce something? If you have a tricky last name or companies or something you're describing, you'd be blown away by what people will do. And the last is listen and be prepared. Speaking of being blown away by what people will do, you have to remember that the person introducing you probably falls into one of two categories. The first category is somebody who would love to be on stage instead of you. And that 1 minute that they have with your introduction in your hand is their time in the spotlight. And they're going to do everything in their power to make it all about them. They're going to try and be funny. They're going to stop in the middle and interject things. They're going to, try and reference things or make it about themselves. I mean, it's unbelievable what will happen. So you've got to be listening and for what they're going to do. And then there's the other one. The other category of people who do introductions are the ones who just got roped in. There's nothing they'd rather do anything that entire day. Anything except give your introduction. So it's going to sound like they're reading a eulogy. I mean, it is just, there's no energy, no enthusiasm, no credibility. There's nothing. They just are trying to get through it so they can sit the heck down. So you've got to be prepared. I've had people introduce me and make fun of me, degrade me. I've had people make things up. Like they embellish things that weren't accurate. I've had people actually reading it and saying that I lived in a different state than what it says on there, and I had to correct. I mean, it's just hilarious, and sometimes not so hilarious, what can really happen. My worst example of an introduction is I was introduced, and the person doing it took it upon themselves to try and make themselves look more important, and which is fine, but in the process really damaged potentially my brand and my credibility in front of the room before I had a chance to even speak. It was really uncomfortable. It was very inappropriate. And you've got to be listening so you know what to do when you get up to the front of the room. You'll have to go to the boot camp someday if you want to hear how I handle it, because I play it there. There's not enough time in our short video to do that. But just listen so you can be prepared and go out and take that stage strong like we've talked about in that last module.